Okay, hopefully this will record the remote screen as well. So we're just going to go over kind of the template that we set up for it. So from here on out, they'll be a little bit more consistent because right now we're doing different call-out boxes and whatnot. And before I came here, I've worked in ArcGIS for like 5 years. So I know it pretty well, but there's still like questions every day that, you know, I'll be like, how do you do that? And you'll have to go on blogs and look up how you like different workflows to get around it. So in IT set up this new, what do you call this, drive. And so instead of using the old C, we're going to be using the E. And we set up this new folder called drafting maps. And so it's kind of going to be similar to how we did our current folder structure is on the design and whatnot. So we're going to have the project number and its typical name and whatnot. And so whatever project you're working on, you're going to be going into that to do all of your schematic and location maps. But first, you want to get your template. And so there's a couple different folders in here. Background just has like background, different information. You'll see it in Arc when I open it up. Doc as a reference, I put in a Word document that I made the past couple of days, and it basically goes through kind of what we're going to talk about today. So if this recording doesn't work, you can go to this. And it goes through different catalog, like how to expand things, how to find things, editing sessions, how to start one, how to add things, how to delete things. Data-driven pages, which a lot of our routes now are getting pretty long, and to keep that 1 to 8,000 scale, this kind of automates it. It's like how we do the alignments right now in AutoCAD, just a little different. And then what else do I have? Just exporting the data-driven pages, because you do have to select some certain options to get it to work correctly. And also just symbolizing the two different line types, the aerial versus buried. And also, I know the project I just worked on had like a front haul and a back haul running both, so that's a little bit more intensive. But I went through, and I think Fayette, I think there's only one that has a back haul and a front haul running along the same time. So I'm not going to go into that, but whoever gets that, I don't know who has it, but whoever gets that, Shannon does, I can help you with it. I'm going to close out of this. So that is found in template under doc. So the first thing, there's 3 different MXDs. MXDs are kind of like DWGs. And so for right now, we're going to focus on the background info and then the project ID, type, and date. The background info, MXD. And also, important thing is pay attention to the date, because what Alex has kind of like pushed in my head as far as 3GIS, it changes. So all of the background information that I brought into here is from that date. So if you think something has changed, go on to 3GIS just to make sure. Because I kind of went through all these different project routes, and I'm pretty sure I got the, I guess, front haul, back haul, and where it begins and ends. But just make sure you double check that. So we have Adams Crabapple over here, and we have Fayette and then Clayette. Kind of what Chris showed you in the last video is you have your table of contents, which is also found up here. If you ever, somehow, if it goes away and you don't know where it went, you can click there. And then this is your catalog, which is where you go and get all of your data. And so same thing, if it goes away, you can put it there. Or if you want, you can even drag it, and you'll see these little blue arrows appear. And you can put it kind of wherever. It's just like customizing like CAD. It's your total preference. Just some options to give you. And then this, just because these are helpful tools to know, this is search. So if you're trying to figure out like how to edit something, or you don't know where the editor toolbar is, you can type in editor and different search results will come up. So it's kind of like a quick, easy way to get to certain tools, because there's a lot of tools in Arc. And then these are your toolboxes, which we'll get into more when we go to do the data-driven pages. So in the background, MXD, I put a couple of things in here. The hub macro site, this is, and if Steven or if anyone has any objections to this, these are kind of the symbol types that we're going to start going with. So for hub macro site, we have just this triangle. It's size 30. If you do need to make it larger or bigger for your schematic or location map, go for it, but try and keep it around 30. And then counties, you don't need that. That's just a reference to kind of get yourself situated. And let me go back. Splice closures, I downloaded all those, so you guys can come grab those right here if you want. Just make sure you check them in 3GIS. And then the fiber cable networks, these are all of them. Except for Clay, it doesn't have those guys yet. But I went ahead and actually exported your specific project number to the folder setup that we currently have. For some reason, if you needed to go back and get it, you can get it from these by doing export, which in export is as simple as opening up the attribute table. So you right click, open attribute table, which brings you to here. And then you can go to your work order ID. I know this is kind of small. And if you're doing Swanson, you can just select by holding your mouse down, and you'll see that all of 01 is selected, and you will come over here and you'll see all of Swanson selected. Just make sure it's all of your project, and data, export data. And it will, I won't export it, but it will essentially will prompt you to where you want to put it. And you'll just put it in your folder, and always put it in your shapefiles. Don't put it in the MXD or any other, because the thing about shapefiles is, I'm not sure if Chris mentioned it, it's kind of like XREFs. Once you put them somewhere, that's where they need to be, and if you move them, then your MXD, where you created your schematic or location, the data will be broken. So that's just if you need to go retrieve data.
And the reason why she has it so that way you can retrieve it here is so that way you don't have to go into 3GIS yourself and steal that data from 3GIS. That she's already gone and done this, so there's no...
So
you can,
is this going to be something, though, that you're going to go through, and every time Brian's ready, you would upload those? I guess that's the only thing, so I don't know if it's one of those things that we would want to have. I mean, again, it's just at some point you'll,
Right.
as things change, and it'll take you out for a day or two, and we need it.
Right.
So we'll just need to know that process of, like, is it the same thing as what Chris did, or?
it's the same thing as what Chris did if you want to go the way that Chris did. This is just saving you a step from having to do the open 3GIS and steal it from there.
Okay.
So this works for right now, but yeah, if going forward she doesn't have the time to add in all this stuff, then you would still go through the 3GIS route.
Okay,
Right.
so you'd still go through
Yeah,
that.
I don't mind like downloading off of 3GIS, because quite frankly for me, I think it's more efficient for one person to go in there and download it rather than for each of us to go in and take the time yourself. But
Yep,
that's
that's fine with me. I just wanted to throw that out there that we and we may be able to create a link. We can talk to Chris and Dan.
Okay.
They may be able to create a link that will just automatically push stuff in. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works. Because another thing that I did with this, which not to bore you, but I know in 3GIS, if you look at it, there's a lot of attributes they have in there, and I deleted all the ones that were just empty, because it's a lot to look at in itself when you look at attribute tables. And then the background, I also put roads. I know on my latest road location maps, I put roads in. So if you want, you can literally just come and copy and paste them into your MXD that you're working in. So I have Fayette, Bolton, and Clayton. And then I did put flow lines in, which is the National Hydraulic Data Set. If you want to come and check for a stream crossing, you can just turn these on. And if you, I know I had one, and Shannon had one, and for Swanson and Ebenezer. Oops, I gotta turn those guys off. So you can come in and query it, and it will tell you the creek. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have the stream order. Usually they do. But some of these, the NHD is really good, but some of them are like drainage ditches. So just because it's a blue line on there doesn't mean it's necessarily a stream. So just make sure that, I would say it's a perennial or intermittent or whatever is required for our drawings. And then lastly, I just put our areas so that they're clear for the current ones that we're working on. So this MXD, the background information one, do not save over it. If you create a personal folder, you could save it to your personal folder, but just keep in mind all of this data is linked to this folder right here, Fayetteville 032718. So if you go and change it, it will change other MXDs that have this particular shapefile in it. So, and I guess I'll also, do you guys know how to map a folder, I guess, to get data? I guess I'll go over that one more time, just because it's good. You come over to catalog and you just click on the folder with the plus sign on it, and you navigate to the E drive. And you can click, I'll just leave this one as the E drive. We'll primarily be using the drafting maps folder. And if you want to create a shortcut, like to instantly be able to access your project, you can just click on, Adam's Crabapple and hit OK. Or you can even go one in deeper, so that, like I'll show you if I wanted to go to Swanson. Now all I need to do is drop down and I'm instantly in my project folder rather than having to navigate through the E drive and click 3 times. So that's just, you can do it that way. But I tend to have one to the main folder and then one to the general project folder. So, and I think that's it for background information. I'll go over the hub site too, because I know I think primarily everyone has been adding in the hub information into AutoCAD just with a text box, but it looks a little bit neater if we use ArcGIS and add it into there. I can show you an example. So when you go to set up your schematic or your location map, you're going to come into the drafting maps, template, MXD, and project ID, type, and date. If it opens up. So this one I already dropped data on it. Well, no, this is the template. So this is what you'll find on it. And immediately you'll want to just save as to your project folder. So this is Fat Cat, and we're going to use this one as an example, which is 5. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you'll go into your project folder and then go into MXD, and then project ID you'll do ATL, AC, 5, and then the type we'll do schematic. Ooh, yeah, sorry. My bad. Schematic. And then the date. It is 0328. And always put the date on it because it's just a good reference of when you did it. So now it's saved. And you have all of these guys on it, but keep in mind these are all templates, so you are not using these. They're just as a reference there to for your style type, kind of like in CAD. So the first thing you're going to want to do is navigate to where your fiber root is, which either depending on how we go about it, I'll probably try and download it and place it in the project folder for you.
Sorry, did you save it in the Z drive in the project folder or in the E drive?
The E drive, and the E drive is only on the remote connection computer. And the reason why they put that on there is because they're running out of storage. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just go into your project folder, go into shapefiles, and I already placed the fiber cable. So you just kind of drag, you can drag it and drop it. You can drag it into your table of contents. I'm just going to turn off the templates for now. And so right now we're in a 1 to 8,000 scale. It doesn't really matter. But if it just kind of drags and drops in, zoomed in, you can right click and go zoom to layer. So that's Fat Cat. And you can open up the attribute table, check and make sure it's all there. It should be because I put it there. So I guess the first thing you want to do is change the symbology type, which is what I should tell you, what Chris kind of went over, but quickly you go to properties, you go to symbology, categories, unique values, and I believe it's I thought it was type name. Yeah.
No, that one does it too.
Okay, so type name. And there they are. I always uncheck that just because if there's a polyline that doesn't have an attribute under type name, it will still like pop up in your view frame. So hit apply, even though, and okay. So you'll see the two different colors. The next thing is you need the red and the blue. It's a simple red and blue line, but just to be consistent, if you go into the template layers, you can click on Arial, and you'll see the blue line is already there, and you can go save as. And so I'm just gonna name it test Arial. You guys can name it whatever you want, probably template for Arial. Finish. Okay, and then I need the buried. So you can just go save as test B. Okay, so now I have the symbology type for the fiber root. And so when you go to just click to the left of the text, this symbol selector will pop up, and you can go over to your saved symbol types, and I saved Arial's blue. So you just click on it and it automatically generates, and then you can go to buried, and that will automatically generate. And so you can see that they're the right colors now.
With how you have a double Arial and double buried also in that template file, is that automatically going to be in their new file, or do they have to go in and save that as every time?
That's if you needed the double or polyline symbol, go into the background MXD and do the same process of what I just did. Just click to the left of the text and save as, and say double Arial, double buried. So now you have your line types. Next thing you want to do is labeling. So you right click, properties, labels, and Chris created a line expression from his original tutorial. So we're going to use that same one. You're always going to want to hit label features in this layer. So if you go expression, delete this. Alex actually saved the expression that we're using, so mine automatically pops up to where it is, but it's in the template folder under expression, and it's this LXP file. So you hit open and you hit OK, and you can hit apply and OK. So now they're on your line, and next thing we want to do is put them in the call-out boxes. The call-out boxes are slightly different from what we were using previously, and if you can get those and save them as a symbol type and save you some time rather than creating them yourself. So if you go back to your template, I already have some, and if you right click on the template polyline, which has template in its name, so that's how you know you're on the right one, you can go into properties, labels, and you'll see that this is already saved right here. So just go symbol, save as, test, call out, finish. Okay, and then turn off the template, shapefiles, turn back on yours, and go properties, symbol, and I have a bunch of different ones saved, but if you go down, you'll see that the test call out is now saved, and you can hit OK. And OK. So same thing as Chris, is you get those just a little bit different callouts. The one thing is that you want them going horizontal, perpendicular to whichever, horizontal to the fiber root. So make sure your labeling toolbar is on, which you can get your label, any kind of toolbar that we're using, whether it's draw or editing and whatnot, is found under customized toolbars. There's labeling, so you just click on it and it will automatically pop up. Same thing, you can kind of drag them out or put them back in. But when it comes to labeling, use the Maplex label engine. It gives you like a little bit more flexibility on where you can put your labels, a little bit more options. So then you can go right click, properties, labels, and then placement properties, and you'll get different tabs. And so the main one that you want to do, which it's not, oh no, position, is offset horizontal, so it's the center one. So that was, and keep this as regular placement and go down here and grab this offset horizontal. Hit OK. All these others are fine. The only other one is stack label. Uncheck that, because in the expression that Alex saved, there's code that says VB new line that automatically gives you a stacked label, so this will just kind of make your labels even more stacked. Label density, you can hit repeat label, or you can copy them once you convert to annotation. It doesn't matter. Just you have to make sure you're in the 1 to 8,000 scale. So position and uncheck stack label, and you should be good. Make sure your label features are on, and it should be good. So now all of them are facing the right way. Close that. Once you think that they are good, then convert them to annotation, because if for some reason, if you forgot to place them so that they're horizontal, you convert to annotation, you have to go back through and delete them all and then redo your labels. So these look pretty good to me. And you right click, convert labels to oh shoot. Make sure you're in 1 to 8,000, which is, you do so up in your scale bar. And I'll just,
Is there a way to, do we each have to set up these properties every single time, or is it something that once we do it once, it'll remember? Okay.
They'll do it once.
Because I am struggling to follow everything that you're flipping through right now, but
yeah, don't
should
worry.
I tried to follow you, and then
and she has a recording, so she.
Yeah, you'll only have to do, once you save something as for yourself, like where she wrote in test B and test A, as soon as you do that for yourself, it will follow you throughout the rest of your
Those will be
your
saved
documents.
forever.
But the one that she specifically, the one that was like double, that was already in there, those won't follow you because they're in the template, so you have to save them as your personal one and then do the save as your personal one and then go through.
Okay, so make sure in 1 to 8,000 scale, and right click on your polyline, not properties, right click and convert labels to annotation in the map and convert. So now if you go to your little arrow guy, you can move them. And you can also move the arrow too.
the backwards arrows were trying to.
So I'll just move them around, just pull them off the line. Just so that they look okay. And there should be one up here. And say, well, I guess I'll do the different pages and then we'll copy them over. But so right now we're in data view, which is kind of like model space, and where you actually create the PDF is in your layout view. In your layout view, once you save the template, it'll already have this template, kind of like Chris had a 9x5, but this is now an 11x17 to kind of fit the scale of our drawings better. And you'll see when you go to 1 to 8,000 in this in your layout view, your entire route isn't captured. So before, you guys were just kind of coming in and taking a print screen here and a print screen here, but to make it more automated, we set up data-driven pages. So to set up data-driven pages, you come back into your data view. And then you have to turn on your data-driven page toolbar, which is under customized toolbars again. It will turn on. So then just put that, somewhere where you can see it. The next big thing besides the data-driven page toolbar that you're going to be using is your toolbox to create the grid. So you open up your toolbox and you're going to go to cartography, data-driven pages, and grid index features. And double click on that.
How did you get to the toolbar?
This guy or this guy?
That guy on the right.
This one? You just, this red box,
Oh, right. Okay.
and just click on it. So output feature class, you're going to want to navigate to your project folder. Go to shapefiles and just name it DDP1. You can put the date on it if you want. I'm just going to leave it like that for now. Input features is going to be your project route. So it's fiber cable, not the template one. Polygon width, this is important. So you're going to want to change these to feet. And this is 8,200 by 5,700. And I'll show you a way that you can check it before in the template if you're unsure what those numbers are. And then everything else is fine. So you just got to save it to where you're going to be able to find it, and then enter your fiber route polyline, and then just change the data-driven page size and hit OK.
That's because of the scale, right?
Correct.
Yeah, the size of the box.
And so you'll see this little earth down here. Hopefully this will work. When that little earth is spinning, it means ArcGIS is thinking, so don't touch Arc, because sometimes that's how you cause it to freeze. I'm going to close out of this. So now the data-driven pages has popped up, and you can go zoom to layer. You'll see they're kind of, obviously they're not perfect. They're probably not going to be perfect when you create them. So just like how we do it in CAD, you got to manually adjust them slightly. And in order to adjust them, you have to start an editor session, which is toolbars, and make sure editor toolbar is on. So you click it. This will pop up. I'll pull it down here so you can see it. And you go editor, start editing, and not the template one, but the data-driven page one, the one that you just created. You select that and hit OK. Just hit continue. And all we're going to want to do is just adjust them so that they are slightly overlapping. And you can change the symbology of them if you want them hollow, if you want them green, whatever you like best. And essentially what you're going to do is just grab and drag them so that they're slightly overlapping. I think this one, it's going to just be 4. That looks pretty good. And once you're happy with the position that they're in, go back to your data-driven page and go open attribute table. Because how they export, they just need to be in numerical order. If I can just minimize this a little. So your page number is what you're going to be using. So if you just select to the left this little square, it should highlight. So you'll see 1's there, 2, 3, 4. So they all came in the right order. But say if this was, 7, you can change it to that. Or say if 1 and 4 needed to be flipped, you can. But for right now, it's all fine. So it looks good. Always save your edits and stop editing. So your data-driven pages is set up. You can close that editor. The next thing that you just want to make sure is each one of these boxes is going to be exporting as a separate map, so you need a label per box. And what I've just been doing is taking one of the symbols, make sure you're in 1 to 8,000, and copy, paste, and then you can drag them up to the specific map. So messing with the labels is probably, once you guys get this process down, it's probably the more time consuming thing. So you have one there. It looks bigger, but I think it's gonna be fine. And then you just need one here. Copy, right click, paste. And I think that's good.
When you paste it, will it always come in on the same point that the way we are copying?
So if you copy it from this guy, and if you paste it, it'll be in that, it'll just be like offset of it a little.
Okay.
Cool. And then if we want, we can zoom to make sure we have all these labels. They're coming in bigger right now. I think that's just showing that they're copy and pasted, because when you go to export them in 1 to 8,000, it's fine. So don't worry, unless I export it and it doesn't look like that, then I need to figure out why it's not. But
You want to show them how to delete them if they need to?
oh, the callouts.
Yeah, well, that one on the bottom left is technically, or the one on the bottom page, there's 2 of the buried on the right side, unless they're,
I think
never mind,
that's-
one's a 72.
Yeah. If you
So-
do want to delete them, though, that's a good question. Just click on it and delete. The next thing that you probably want to do is your splice closures. Which this drawing has. You can use a template one, just don't edit. Like if you go to edit it, I would export it into your own project folder, just so it doesn't messes with anyone else's item. So to export it, you can take the template one and go data, export data, and just put it in. I'll put it in FatCat for right now to drafting maps, Fayetteville, shape files, splices. Save. Okay. Yes. So now you'll see that it came as just little points. And what you can do is, I've already saved this symbol type, same thing, go to splices, click on it, click the splice, hit OK, and now they're automatically symbolized. The last thing that you want to do is hubs. So you can build it right off of the hub macro site that's going to be in the template folder. So essentially what you want to do is bring it into view, which you're not going to see anything for FatCat because right now it's only on Swanson. And also, if you want, just a quick note, if you want to go back to a previous extent, so I was just here and then I zoomed to here, but I want to go back, you can just hit the back arrow. So for FatCat, do you guys have 2 hubs?
There's only one on FatCat.
There's just a splice, and then the bottom one, that actually,
Right here?
Yeah, right there's the hub to the left of it.
Okay, so to create that point, instead of just plopping it in, start another editing session, editor, start editing, select hub macro site, and hit OK, continue. It'll just be like this, but in order to actually get that point for you to place it spatially, you just go editor, editing windows, and create features. So I've only selected a point, but say if you were editing the polylines, you can bring up this create features column and it will get, or if it can give you different options, like with polygons, it gives you a lot more options. But since points are simple, it's easy enough. So click on it and the red triangle will appear. And just kind of zoom to where the hub is. So I'm going to click there. And then the next thing that you're going to want to do is open up the attribute table. And since you're going to be using this particular shapefile, the label style is already saved. So you want to come in here to create your label rather than doing it in AutoCAD. So you're going to want the name, your X, Y, and Z. Oh shoot, it has to be a number. I'll show you another thing, but I'll just put 9, 10, and then, what city is it in? Is it in Fayette?
It's Fayetteville.
That should be all caps though. And then Fat Cat Road.
No, the Fat Cat is the name of the
No, I'm
site.
just
it's
joking.
Like 145 McBridge Road. Sure.
Okay. So you can hit editor, save edits, and editor, stop editing. And it should. Why isn't it doing it? There we go. So you just had to refresh it and it will automatically populate. You can manually type in the decimal degrees, but if you want, you can open up your attribute table again, right click on the top of where it says XDD and go calculate geometry, hit yes, and then just make sure it's on X coordinate of point. That's your coordinate system, and then just hit decimal degrees.
Is that like a label that you can move around in case it places it weird?
It isn't, but you can mess around with placement, or you could convert it to annotation again, if you wanted to.
But it's tied to that site.
Yeah.
The actual image for that site, so that triangle is where it's supposed to be connected to.
So you'd have to do like the export and not mess up with anyone else's thing if you wanted to move that text or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd want to do that. And then the only other thing, if you want to mess with like placement without having to convert it to annotation, because I would recommend not converting to annotation as much as you can. I know with the fiber roots we have to, but the more of those labels that aren't like actually have a path to a shapefile, it tends to bog down ARC and make it run slower. But if you wanted to mess with the placement, you can come into properties, labels, placement properties. And if you go position, and if you always wanted it in the northwest, it typically will put it in that area. So we'll keep it like that. So you have, let's go zoom to layer. So we have our splices, we have our labels, we have the hub that's labeled, it's just not showing up because of our scale that we're at right now. And everything. So I think we're ready to export. I'm trying to think. The new base map that we're gonna go with, I think Steven likes it and you guys like it. You go add base map rather than going over to the catalog where they had the servers. This I just find is easier and it runs off of Wi-Fi as well. So add base map, and it should be OpenStreetMap, right? That's the one we're using. OpenStreetMap. So just scroll down. So it looks blurry now, but when you zoom into that scale, it will look better. So we're still in data view, so go to your layout view. And once you turn the base maps on, they do run a little bit slower, so just keep that in mind. And then the next thing that you're gonna want to do is go to 1 to 8,000 scale. and then use your data-driven page toolbar, where am I? Oh, it's right here. Use your data-driven page toolbar, click on the setup, and it will bring you to this box. First thing you're going to want to click is enable data-driven pages. You're going to want to make sure your data-driven page shapefile is right there, not your fiber cable or anything else, your data-driven page. And then the name field, just hit number and number. And then the last thing that you're going to want to, and then just leave these as the default. And then on extent, you're going to want to click center and maintain current scale, because that's going to use the 1 to 8,000 scale. And hit OK. So now it's zoomed into 1 to 8,000, and you'll see the black box is your data-driven pages. And if you just click through these little arrows using the toolbar, you'll see that it will automatically pan consecutively to the next spot, and it's nice because it will show like overlapping areas so the viewer can situate themselves. Did those labels come in the right way? Yeah, they did. Okay, great. And then the only other thing that you want to do is don't turn off your data-driven pages, but just make this outline color no color. Okay. And then we'll go back to page 1. And then the last thing that you want to do once it's all finished is you're going to export it. So you just go File, Export Map, navigate to your project folder, go into, I don't know if you guys have it, I have the Z drive, but you can save it to your project folder, and just go schematic. It's going to save this way PDF, but make sure when you go to export it, you got to go to the Pages tab. And don't just hit current page, because then you're only going to get one PDF and you want all 4, so hit all. And hit save. And hopefully it will go through. And just like when we publish our sheets, it can take some time, so don't touch the computer. Kind of just let it run its thing.
Does it only export these as a PDF, not like a image file?
You can do an image file, but what I've been doing is, I'll show you. If you go to your project folder, you'll have your schematic. You'll have the PDF. I'm wondering. I will open it and I will crop it as a PDF. And then once the PDF's cropped, you can just go save as an image, and it will automatically output 4 images for you, cropped. So I think it saves time rather than doing images. I guess you can too. You'd probably just go File, Export Map. Yeah, and you can save it as a JPEG. So I can put those there too. Try that just to see what it does. So yeah, and then you have your schematic maps. And I will wonder what, see, it only exported one, so if you do, I would recommend exporting it to a PDF first and then just saving it as a JPEG. So basically just copy it or save it to the Z drive. Go on to, nope, this PC.
Does everyone have access to the Z drive from the remote connection?
They should.
They should. I had it automatically. Alex didn't for some reason.
But since they updated the Z drive and they did the whole thing with ArcMap, or with the Fiber Planet being changed over, I have magically been able to do it again. So everyone should. If you don't, then you would have to send in a support ticket.
Is it normal to have to access ArcMap through a remote desktop, or is that just something that we're doing?
I think it's like not normal.
Okay.
Usually you have like your own license. And I think Tilson probably
just
just
so it's
doesn't want to,
cheaper.
pay for them. And if you have your own, like the only time I'd remote desktop in is if I was working from home and I'd remote desktop into a computer in the office for the connection. So I just copied it over to the Z drive. And I'll just make sure it came in right. Great, so then you have all of your drawings. And in PDF, if you just go Tools, Edit PDF, this crop will come up. You just hit Enter OK. And then, oops, nope, File. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, get out of here. Export to image JPEG. Yeah, make sure the resolution is good. For JPEG, I mean, I think Chris said 300. I like to make it more. I'm trying to think of what else. So now you'll see you have your original PDF and then the 4 different JPEGs. It didn't crop. I guess I didn't hit crop.
Did you crop all of them or just the first one?
I don't think I saved it.
No. Well, even if you get to that spot, you can crop it within the JPEG. as well.
Yeah, so basically just crop it. Yeah, that's probably why. And then the most recent thing, when you guys probably know this, but I was just doing mine the other day and putting them in my VF, is that the insert OLE objects isn't working, so we're just doing image attach for these.
Yeah, we're just going into using it like an XREF, like you would attach a drawing, and you're just doing it by the image. And so even if you were to put it in through the JPEG, and you XREF that image in, if you then realize that your crop wasn't 100% or you wanted to go back and change something to it within the JPEG, you would be able to change it, save it, and it would automatically update it through the XREF into your VF. But until we can figure out why the OLE doesn't like these maps, we're just going to try to XREF them in for going forward.
Yep. And that's pretty much it. I know that's probably really hard to follow, me just talking and clicking buttons. So let me know if you guys have any questions.
For the other schematic that we do?
Oh, the location?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what I would do is once you do your schematic map with the OpenStreetMap, go File, use the same template, Save As. Make sure you're in your project folder. Name it location. And then all you're gonna want to do is turn this off. You're gonna want to go back into the background MXD and the roads, or Fayette Roads, I think. Yeah. Just hit copy. Go back into your location template and hit paste. And your road should be there. Also keep in mind too, so ArcGIS is all based on layers, so what's in the top of your table of contents is going to show up first. It's kind of like draw order. So like for me being OCD, I don't want my roads going over my fiber route, or I want my splices on top of my fiber route rather than on the bottom. But you'll have your roads, and then you'll go back into your base maps, add base map, and then just hit imagery. and you'll see the little earth is spinning. And I put these are already symbolized right now. So you won't need to save it. You can save it just to have it as a reference if you want. It's a black halo with a white text. If you need to make it bigger, mess with the placement properties, you can always go in there. Right now I have it on street placement. And then just do the same process, export map. Not a JPEG.
So the only difference between these two things are the map imagery.
Mhm. Yep.
And adding the roads if you want to. And I
The
think
data-driven pages too, is that like, that's just because we wanted to create
right.
like an alignment?
Yep.
I don't think we did that before.
No, we did not do that before. The data-driven pages just kind of make it like you're cutting view frames again. So
Right.
it's just making it so that way, because before we were just kind of lining it up and taking a screenshot, which could make it so that way we had a lot of overlap in some places or not a lot, and we didn't really know it until you looked side by side between the images. But the data-driven pages just kind of make it so that way you're just putting the squares where you want them, and you'll be able to tell how much overlap you have or if you have any at all. Sometimes data-driven pages are real nice and they come in where they show your entire alignment without having to worry about moving them at all. So if that's the case and it looks perfect, then all you got to do is export it. You don't have to mess with it even if you don't want to.
Well, they seem really zoomed in when they're done.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you have to,
Yep, so that's particular when we set up the data-driven page, the reason why it's 8200 by 5700 is because it falls into the frame of, it's what is it? It's like a 12 by 9 template right here. These blue lines make up a 12 by 9, so the 1 to 8000 comes in good to fit this frame.
When you insert the image, does it hold that scale?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
looks.
you don't need to like resize the
No,
image at all?
as soon as you do the X, especially if you just do the XREF, once it comes in, all you gotta do is grab the bottom left corner and just drag it to the top right, and pretty much it almost lines up pretty perfectly, and it looks great.
Oh, you do resize it? You drag the...
Well, you have, when you first, you don't do, because it's not in drawing or anything like that, you don't have a placement for it. So you get that small box, kind of like how you deal with alignments, where if you put in an image, you have to drag it to a certain size. But no matter what size I've put it on, it stays to the 1 to 8000. It just does it in that view frame, pretty much.
And this is the Adam's crabapple. This one was a mistake because I had 2 on there, so I need to go back and fix that. But that's kind of what it will come in, like your road names will come in nicely. And then the location. Oh shoot, I went.
Oh, that's what you're talking about with the white around the letters on the site.
Yep.
Yep. One other thing, you'll see I have a north arrow and the scale down here. I'll have to add that to the template. But just if you're messing around in ARC, you can go insert north arrow. You can pick a bunch of different ones. That one doesn't have a background on it. Or you can go insert scale text. Hit OK.
I mean, I would say you don't need a north arrow on these
Okay.
because we have one up on there and everything's in north anyways, so.
Okay. So ignore that.
That'd be great. The chaos is awesome.
We have to hand draw
Every single one.
Just wait, we're gonna send these in, and EA is gonna be like, yeah, we need
When
a
we
north
print it
arrow.
off, we write it in with crayon.
Yeah.
And one last thing too, when you go to drop these base maps on, Esri want to put their credits on the base map, and it kind of can create this ugly text. You can leave it on there. I like to take it off. So if you just click on Insert, Dynamic Text, and then if you do Service Layer Credits, it will pull it off of the base map, and I just drag it off. So then it's just your aerial image. But if you don't remember it, it's fine.
I give credit.
Yeah. So that's it. Any questions?
Is it like a URL? What does that even say?
It just says Esri's the.
Oh, like a-
Technically, it's like their
You may wanna
source.
Stop your YouTube, or stop your recording.
Yeah.
You don't wanna.
Record our conversation.